Gold developers are discovering that valuation today is about more than ounces in the ground. Investors are increasingly weighing jurisdictional risk, political stability, fiscal terms, and how predictable the permitting path really is. Well, Fortune Bay says its Goldfields project in northern Saskatchewan is advancing within a clear provincial framework as the company moves toward a potential construction decision while continuing near mine drilling. Well, I'm joined by Fortune Bay CEO Dale Verran. Dale, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thanks, Stephen. Good to be here.
Well, look, Dale, let's get straight into it. When you speak to investors today, how much of the conversation is about jurisdictional risk rather than just gold price and grade?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, Devin, because it's becoming an increasingly hot topic. And I think it's somewhat predictable given, the high gold price environment we're in. Gold prices run up, and when that happens, invariably you see a lot of governments internationally, a lot of communities sort of try to capture more of that upside of that high gold price. So it becomes more and more relevant to be in a stable, predictable environment. And it's certainly, yes, a hot topic for conversation.
Now, Saskatchewan is widely regarded as one of Canada's most attractive mining jurisdictions. In practical terms, Dale, how does that reduce development risk for Goldfields?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Saskatchewan's just a fantastic place to be working. I've been involved there, 12 years in the province, originally working with Denison through their PEA, PFS stages, and now obviously with Fortune Bay. But practically, it's, the mining community is always small, and it's small when you're in a province like Saskatchewan, and practically it's about the government listening to the companies, which they do, and seeing how they can support them to build mines. And Saskatchewan's got a long history of uranium and potash mining in particular, but they're really interested in broadening out their mineral resource base and getting other commodities into the production stages. We've recently seen Foran mining. It's been a great development also in northern Saskatchewan. And Goldfields is a project that works terrifically in amongst a range of gold prices. Our PEA base case was $2,600 an ounce. That produced excellent economics, much higher, almost double than that now. So really exciting to project advance in Saskatchewan, which is incredibly supportive jurisdiction.
And you've said exactly that, right? That the project is being advanced within a defined provincial framework. What does it actually mean for timelines and permitting certainty, if you like, as you move closer to a construction decision, Dale?
Yeah, we've opted to and designed our project to stay within provincial permitting. So in Canada, if you go to a 5,000 ton per day throughput or greater, that does trigger federal review. And when you're in federal review, invariably those timelines are longer. There's a greater onus on the company from a permitting standpoint, from a consultation standpoint. It's the costs go up considerably. So we've opted to keep the throughput below 5,000 ton per day, keep the permitting in province, which will shorten the time frames and less cost. And what we already have for the project is a approved EIS from 2008. So in other words, that's an environmental approval that's still valid today. That was approved by the province for an open pit mine and for a 5,000 ton per day mill. So we are building on that, keeping it in province and looking to expedite that timeline to construction.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because my next question was exactly around that focus. I mean, how important is that strategy in accelerating development?
Yeah, absolutely. There's other companies that are doing that too, and for good reason. Certainly that broadly in Canada, there is a focus on trying to push through these bigger strategic projects quickly. But for development like ours, it's a long time coming, and we just see the advantages, particularly being in a place like Saskatchewan, where we know a lot of the regulators, we have the network, we know there's the support to broaden their mineral economy, to really get the support of the province behind us, amend this existing approval, and we really see the ability to move it forward a lot quicker.
Over and above all of that, Dale, I mean, at the same time, you're advancing technical studies, right? What are the key de-risking steps this year that investors should watch?
Yeah, so we're doing studies toward a PFS, and we'll be collecting some additional geotech, geotech and metallurgical data, some also hydrogeological study, also assessing the areas that will be part of the infrastructure development around the project, such as the process plant area and the tailings storage facility. So not super glamorous stuff, but necessary work to take it through the next stages, de-risk the project, and get it to a construction decision.
So what's the ultimate goal here? I mean, is it extending mine life, improving early cash flow, or potentially reshape maybe the scale of the project?
There's all of the above. I mean, we want to obviously get through the necessary work to get this in production as soon as possible. That's important. Alongside of that, we're also looking to continue to optimize and improve the project. A key part of that strategy for us is our ongoing exploration program. We're drilling a number of targets on the property. They're all within 2 kilometers of the planned infrastructure. These are very exciting targets that haven't been touched since the 80s, 90s. We're getting to drill them now and expect that we'll get some results and hopefully start to point toward a much bigger resource for the project that can be incorporated into the mine plan and ultimately produce better economics, longer mine life, etc.
Dale, before I let you go, I've got to ask, if the market is still applying a discount, what milestones do you believe will most clearly demonstrate Goldfields' value and close that gap?
Well, I think, good exploration results always excites the market to show this project will get bigger. That's key. But also just moving forward, and once we can establish very clear timelines toward construction, when the market starts to say, right, production is 2 years out, for example, and as that date approaches and you're de-risking and you're on schedule, on budget, that gap will change because the economics today are fantastic. I mean, if you look at a gold price of $5,000 an ounce, this has an after-tax NPV of $2 billion. We're a $60 million market cap company. Gold price, sure, may not stay there, even if it's at $3,000 an ounce. Our economics are fantastic. So that gap's got to close because we've got a project that works. It's a simple project. It can be permitted, and we can move forward quickly. So we just got to get on with the job, and we've got the funding for the better part of this year to get on with the work we've planned.
Well, sounds very interesting indeed. Well, I'll thank you there, Fortune Bay CEO Dale Verran. Thanks very much indeed, Dale, for your time.
Great, thanks. Nice talking to you, Devin.